I work in an office and my speciality is sitting at a computer.
Yeah.
So for someone to say, when you talk, like, you're quite engaging, I didn't really get it because I'd never thought of being in front of a camera. I always was the behind the scenes person.
Yeah.
So that kind of stuck in my mind. He came back 6 months later and was like, do you want to come in for a meeting? I was like, okay. Because at this time I was just trying to experiment with things that I enjoyed. So I went in and he said, I want to give you your own radio show where there's no music. You're just talking, kind of like a podcast. But this was very early on in defining what a podcast was. So I was like, wow, okay, why not? Let me just try it.
So what year is this now?
This was 2017, I think.
Okay.
2016,
Yeah.
2017.
So then,
Yeah, so 2017. And I just went along with it because I've got nothing to lose at this point. Kind of bored at my job, thinking about other things that I might be interested in. So I started the radio show on Rinse FM. This was when I was still working. And
so did they allow you to do it? Was IBM in London or Manchester? Sorry.
London.
Okay, so you moved back to London anyway for the whole.
Yeah, I was in London. Sorry. When I graduated, I moved straight to London. And I really enjoyed it. And I used to get 3 guests on every week. We discuss a different industry. And I sort of started thinking about what it would be like to put myself in front of the camera or like put myself forward as a brand or as a person. And around this time I met he's still part of my management team now, called Austin. And he works at Atlantic Records now, but he was working at Spotify back in the day. And he said something along the lines of, if you put as much effort into yourself as you did your job or other people, helping other people, then you could do whatever you wanted to do. And I was like, okay, it's nice to have that sort of optimism, because as a person, I'm generally quite pessimistic, or I like to think logical.
Yeah.
So I took his advice on board and just started building my confidence really in terms of like what I could do. I was doing the radio show. I was starting to think about maybe I'd like to do more things in front of a camera, presenting, etc. And I handed in my notice in at work. I had savings, but I soon found out that they were not substantial to live in London. So I handed my notice in, told my parents, who obviously were concerned.
Because how did they react?
My mum they're both supportive. My mum doesn't get, I wouldn't say angry, but she doesn't vocalize her opinions that much. So she was probably just like, oh, okay, whatever you want to do is fine. My dad, who is a businessman and is the same as me in terms of like the life plan, speaking logically, he didn't really understand it. He was like, what are you going to do? You've just given up a great job. You worked so hard at university to get this job. You had a company car, you had a set salary each month, you live in London. Why have you done this? What are you going to do? And it's just coming from a place of concern as a parent, naturally. I didn't know what I was going to do. So I just was like, I don't know. Even people at work were like, oh, you've handed your notice in. Where are you going? Because normally if you hand a notice in, you're like, oh, I've got a new job.
Lined up or something,
I was just like, oh, I'm going to go. I kept it brief. Bearing in mind, none of them knew anything about what I was doing outside, because I've kept my real name and my brand so separate. So I was just saying to them, oh, I'm going to go work in management, entertainment. I didn't know really. So I handed in the notice. Then I went and had a meeting with Austin, who's part of my management. And he was like, why don't you let me manage you? And I thought he was joking, but turns out he wasn't. So I was like, okay, let's go along with it. See what happens. Quit my job and spent about 5 or 6 months trying to figure out who I was, what I had to offer in life, and really struggling, to be honest, because I went from working in an office where you are judged on the job that you do, how capable you are at providing the skills and just sort of that business element, to doing stuff in radio, being present online on social media, where you get judged for how you look, or you get judged in a 0.5 of a second when someone clicks on your profile and judges you based on some pictures, which are not relative, I think, to what you are as a person. And I really struggled with that, because I am driven by, or I like people to think or respect my intelligence and how hardworking I am. And I felt that people just judging me based on how I looked. And I really hated it. And I decided that I can't just sort of wing it on social media and have the radio show and expect that to be enough. I needed more for myself, but I also wanted to change people's perceptions of me. And I tried to go back and think, what have I always loved in my life? And despite for so many years not gaming, but secretly having all my games in my room with me, just in case on a rainy day I wanted to game, I thought back to when I was 8 years old and my auntie had gone traveling and left the console with me and my sister. And then I thought about all the times where I'd been told, you're a girl, why are you a gamer? Or you don't look like you'd work in IT. Or, oh, you do computer science. Are you one of the only girls? And I also thought about how driven I am in environments where I am the underdog. So I looked online and I was studying sort of female content creators that do gaming and things like that. Because I was thinking I could flip this in from being, you don't look like you should game because you're a girl, into, yeah, I should. And here I am as a demonstration for other people, for younger women to look and think, oh yeah, maybe I want to do that. It shouldn't be something that's shamed upon. Mm-hmm. So I was online looking and it was literally a light bulb moment. It was about 3 a.m. because at these times
it always comes at the random times.
Yeah. And also at the times where you're literally scrambling for like ideas because you are so stressed that you have quit your job. You have literally no money because the money you saved up goes within a split second in London, and you have to make something work. Because earlier I said I'm so embarrassed by failure. Why did I quit my job and have all these people, even my friends, questioning, what is she doing? Why would she give up her job to go and take some photos on Instagram, which I'm not, like, I fully respect people do that because it's very hard work, and also the mental side of it is a lot as well. Yeah. But for me, I was just needed more for myself. So yeah, light bulb moment, 3 a.m. I'm going to do gaming as a female on YouTube. And at this time, it was 2018. So there were, like, as you said, the rise in gaming was big, but compared to what it's like now it's completely different. But there was gamers, particularly in America, that were doing Minecraft content, and there was a few in the UK that were doing Sims content. All these females, they have massive platforms, but there wasn't one that was sort of a commercial gamer that was into fashion and sport and other stuff as well.
So it was also, there was, what you noticed is basically that, yes, there are people that are gaming, but not showcasing personal brand as much.
Yeah, there was a gap.
In other things,
There was a gap in the market, I think, anyway, for a commercial female gamer who's more of a personality and a brand. And because my brain is wired by business, I was like, okay, found the niche in the market to sort of break through into a wider thing. Because the ultimate goal was to, I think, become big on YouTube. And me and Austin created this PowerPoint presentation where, because I needed investment, because I had no money, quit my job. And
what did you need investment for?
The equipment.
Okay.
So
in terms of like what, PC, gaming?
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you start YouTube anyway, you have to have a setup. Yeah. So in this room, people can't see it on the camera, but there's a lot of equipment here and it costs money.
Yep.
So I did some research after I'd come up with this light bulb idea moment. I told Austin and he was like, that is the best idea you've come up with. So we needed investment to get the equipment. For what I needed, a computer with all the specs, because I'm a tech nerd. Like, I know the specs I want.
And graphics cards. You need
all the graphics card, everything. It would have been about £4,000 to buy a PC. And I didn't have £4,000. So we pitched and got investment for that. The PowerPoint document that I mentioned with all the sort of goals that we wanted to achieve. And I also found out that if I build the computer myself from scratch, it would have taken the price down from about £4,000 to £1,200 to £1,500. So
saving a lot.
Resourceful.
Do you know, it's interesting. It's so funny because you went into YouTube with a full-on business plan and all that sort of stuff. And not a lot of people do. So it's like well thought out and everything. It's like you had a contingent plan for the whole process. And
I don't talk about it that often because I don't want people who follow me and engage in my content to think that I've just done it because it's a business plan and I'm trying to make money and make a business out of it.
Yeah.
Obviously that plays a part in it, but that's not ultimately why I did it. I did it because I love gaming and I wanted to change the perception of not only myself, but what it means to be a female gamer.
Yeah.
So there's two sides to it. But yeah, essentially I went into YouTube with a whole business plan and targets and things that I wanted to achieve.
I don't think that's a wrong thing. I don't think there's anything bad with it, because at the end of the day, if you know, the saying is prepare to fail, fail to prepare. I think I said that the right way. I'm not too sure.
I think so. I'm really bad with sayings.
Yeah, fail to prepare, prepare to fail. That's the one. Yeah, that's what I meant. But obviously, if you go in with a plan, forget about monetary value and all that sort of stuff, but just having a step-by-step process of where you want to go and what you want to be is so important for people. And I think when people ask me now, whether it's on Instagram or whatnot, I want to be a YouTuber, I want to be a content creator, what's the first step I should do? Yes, start. But secondly, have a plan, because if you haven't got a plan and you don't know where you're going, then there's no North Star for you to aim towards. And I think that's what you need in the beginning, which is what, you know, I rate the fact that you've done that as well.
Thank you.
One gamer, as we were talking about this, came to the top of my head. I can't remember her name, but it just goes back to, she was good at gaming, but I didn't see her in terms of branding otherwise. She was an American girl. So what you've done there in terms of branding as well, on top of that, was even more amazing. And would you say from that plan, following that plan has allowed you to be in the positions you are in today, i.e. presenting and radio host and just branching outside of the content creation?
I think so. I think because the plan, and I always think this with business, and this is what we get taught, right? Find a niche and then build it out so you can achieve other things. Focus on one area instead of spreading yourself too thin. Because if you diversify your portfolio too much early on, it's chaotic. Focus on one thing and just go straight, and then you can expand out later on, which is what I did ultimately. Focus on the gaming, which I did for the whole first year, was just like tunnel vision. And then I started getting opportunities outside of that, and naturally things grew from there. But yeah, I was quite militant actually with how I created my brand and my platform, because I didn't tell anyone. I had this idea. My manager Austin knew it, and obviously when we got investment, there's the only people who knew. I didn't tell any of my friends. I just got on with it behind the scenes, and I'd ordered some equipment. So ultimately I created the PC myself, and I taught myself how to make a PC from scratch, because that was cheaper and I needed to cut all the corners that I could. So I ordered all the equipment. I luckily had a few friends that were working in tech companies who could advise me on the best
things to get.
Yeah, things like best graphic cards, best monitors that I needed. And I ordered all this stuff. One of them sort of gave me a 10-minute rundown of how I would create a PC. And then I just learned the rest from YouTube. It took me about 2 or 3 days, and it was one of them at the time, one of the most mentally consuming things that I've done. But the PC still works. It's been 5 years nearly.
Really?
The PC still works to this day. And I'm so proud that I was able to just do it myself. It was one of those other things that I just like a challenge, and to be able to tell people I've created my PC myself.
Do you know what? I've always wanted to create my own PC. I was going to do it in lockdown, but the issue is I like Mac. So it's like I had Windows before. This is such an off-topic thing, but there's so many updates and all that sort of stuff, so I got fed up of it and I moved to Mac.
You should just do it as a hobby thing on the side.
I want to, because I just think they look cool. You know, when you especially have the glass window and then the lights in there, it looks really sick. But then probably maintaining it and cleaning it, I probably wouldn't do that.
I haven't opened that thing.
Yeah, that must be dusty as anything in the 5 years.
Yeah, and the cable management is disgusting.
You hear it. It's like, you know, the memes you see of the PS4 when you turn it on with GTA 6 and the thing just blows up.
Honestly,
it's gonna be like
but it still works now. I think it's time. I think I just have a soft spot for it. It's time to move on, because I need to upgrade the PC, but it still works and I love it.
Yeah, I mean, do you know what? Something like that now, I would almost say it as like a piece that you put on the side. So if you do eventually upgrade, it's one
piece
of them.
My history.
It's a piece of your history. You can't let that go. You can't just dismantle it and say goodbye.
Definitely.
It's like, it's something that kind of kickstarted your career.
Yeah, it's played such a big part.
Yeah.
And I obviously got the camera equipment. I had to learn about lighting. I look back now and it's terrible. But at the time, I knew literally nothing about production, because for anyone who's not created content before, like something like this today, you do it all yourself. And I said this before we started filming, which is so amazing. You're like, it's being a one-man band. You have to think of the content, be the person in front of the camera, have all the equipment, make sure the audio sounds fine, make sure the lighting's great, make sure all the cameras are working. Then you have to go away and edit it and put it out. It's a lot, but it's such a fun skill to have, and just to know, even if you at some point outsource it, it's just the knowledge of knowing I could do that if I wanted to. So I was quite militant in the beginning. Create the computer, learn how to work the lighting, learn how to record gameplay, because I didn't know how to do that. So at this time I was watching a lot of other people's content, learning what I like to watch, how I wanted my content to look. Then I had to think about branding. So my logo, what that would look like. I got a little girl who's got a witch hat on. She's got a Nintendo controller, which was meant to be me, and get all the overlays and stuff like that made. Then I had to learn how to edit. I had no idea. So I learned everything in terms of how to edit a gaming video from YouTube tutorials, which all in all, this process took about 4 months.
Just out of my own curiosity, what did you edit on?
I edit on Premiere Pro. Okay. I still do now.
Okay,
yeah.
Cool, sweet as.
So I think I used Photoshop before, so I just wanted to stick with Adobe. So I went with that. And it all took about 4 months because I'm a perfectionist and I didn't want to put out a video that I wasn't happy with. But I also didn't want to put out a video and not have stuff in my backlog because I wanted to be
consistent.
I wanted to have this thing where I tell people, boom, this is what I've been planning for about 6 months. And it just starts instantly, and it's like boom, 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 video. So I think I had about 4 or 5 videos recorded, edited, in the bank, ready to go. And what date is it? So by the time this comes out, it will have been my 5-year anniversary since.
Is it? So when's your 5-year anniversary then?
December the 18th is when I dropped my first. It's the 12th today. So
okay, so you got 6 days.
6 days.
A week away.
Till 5 years. And I remember the day before, I just went, bearing in mind at this point on my social media or to anyone who knew me, I just uploaded photos of myself. I didn't really talk on camera ever. People thought I was quite shy, which I am naturally, but when I'm comfortable, I'm not. So people didn't know my personality. They just knew I was Ginger, the ginger girl, right? So I came out on my Instagram and was just like, tomorrow I am launching a gaming channel. My channel will be me playing games, reviewing games, reacting to gaming news. I'll be doing 2 videos a week. My brand is Elz The Witch. Cool. Go and subscribe if you want. It was that. And I think a lot of people were like, whoa, what is going on? We didn't even know you liked gaming.
Midlife crisis.
Are you just doing this to get popular? So I think there was the people that were skeptical about it and just like, what the hell's going on? And then there were other people who were intrigued because they maybe liked gaming as well, or they just kind of respected the journey that I was going on. So the next day uploaded my first YouTube video, and then the rest is history, really.
I want to talk about numbers wise, just for me to understand it more. I don't usually like talking about numbers, but I just want to, like I said, understand it. So at the point where you started your YouTube channel, how many numbers did you have on Instagram?